Hi, I'm Stevie Fernandez.
And I'm Trish Whitmer. Thanks for making time to enjoy another episode of Explore Tulsa with us.
You know, Trish, Explore Tulsa was created so that we could celebrate our community and the accomplishments made by many of our neighbors who contribute every day to Tulsa's growth.
One of those people is considered by most to be one of Tulsa's greatest philanthropists.
Henry Zarrow, his wife, and their foundation have done so much good for Tulsa and really all of Oklahoma.
And before his recent passing, John Erling had a chance to visit with him in one of his one-on-one interviews for Voices of Oklahoma.
John was nice enough to sit with us and share a few of the highlights of that interview with Mr. Zarrow.
Well, my interview with Henry Zarrow was conducted in his foundation office, downtown Tulsa. Office very, very interesting. Pictures of Henry and his family and some award pieces he'd received down through the years. And as everyone knows, he was such an easy person to be around, and so he was during the interview, very smiling personality. And during the course of the interview, I threw out some names to him just to see if he had any interaction with them, like the oil man J. Paul Getty or Will Rogers. And so I asked first about Mr. Getty.
He helped me borrow $300 from the First National Bank. I had this store. I was only about 13, and my loan officer was a fellow named Roscoe Adams. He was a bachelor, and they lived at the Tulsa Hotel. So I went up there at nighttime and was asking him I'd like to borrow $300. He said, "Well, you're too young, son." I said, "Yes, I know it, but I'll sure try. Hope I can pay. I owe some bills for groceries for my store." He said, "I think you're just too young." J. Paul Getty was sitting next to him, and he heard me talking. He said, "Well, why don't you loan the boy some money and help him get started?" So Roscoe Adams, go ahead and write the check.
So can you imagine when Henry asked for this loan, he was 13 years old, and he asked a banker for a loan. So Henry was older than his years, a very mature 13-year-old. So then I thought, okay, I'm lucky with that name. I'll see if he had met Will Rogers. And this is what he said.
Well, I remember being with him. He, his nephew and niece, had a place at 124 East Independence. He didn't like it. They were his niece and nephew. He wanted to buy him a better place. Well, my dad was trying to buy a house, and we visited there, and of course I was with my dad. It's $2,500. Will Rogers asked my dad, "Do you have money to buy it?" My dad said no. So my dad hung around another day or two, and Will Rogers used to lay out on the lawn. Everybody in the neighborhood used to be around there, and you couldn't hardly talk business to him because he's busy talking to all those people. Well, one day he asked my dad, "Can you raise $500? My dad said, "Well, I think I can." He said, "Well, if you raise $500, and I'd have my nephew and niece buy $1,000 a year groceries off of your grocery stores, then we can make a deal for this house."
And Henry said he remembered the day that Will Rogers died, August 15th, 1935, and Henry became very emotional even now as he talked about it. Of course, Henry had a stellar reputation as a businessman. I mean, he founded Sooner Pipe and Supply, and he talked about not having to sign contracts to do business, just a handshake.
That's a miracle itself. All the business I did and all the years I was in business, I never had to have a contract with people. We used to sell oil companies pipe, and they just trusted us. We had the best customers it could be, Exxon and down.
Now, because of Henry's success, he became a very, very generous philanthropist, and he supported many, many different projects, including Voices of Oklahoma. One of the projects that was really dear to his heart was the building of the present-day Center for the Homeless in Tulsa.
That's been very, very helpful. 25,000 square feet, about 17,000 a month sometimes. And the people in Tulsa, I write them letters and thank them if it's over $200. People in Tulsa are good. They don't let you down.
And of course, Henry Zarrow never let Tulsa down or the state down. I mean, he gave liberally to both. I'm sure we will never, ever know the full impact that Henry made in our lives. He died January 18th, 2014. He was 97. Mr. Henry, as he became known, truly had a giver's heart.